So one of the marks that we want to make, reference markers, is we're going to put it on the convex mirrors. We need to know where the pivot point is. Remember that the pivot point is the point at which the entire coach pivots around, which is the middle of that back wheel. So the whole coach pivots around that back wheel. We're going to go ahead and mark the mirrors so that we can see that point when we're driving. So we talked about the pivot point. Now we're going to mark the windshield and we're going to mark the mirrors to help us have those reference points, okay? The way that I mark the mirrors, some people use dots, some people use paper stickers. I actually like to use pinstripe. It's waterproof, it doesn't come off as easy. So I've got some red pinstripe here. I've also had blue. What I do is I take a little piece of it. I just kind of cut a little square off of it. I don't know if you can see that, but I cut a little square off of it. And after I pick that up, what I'll do is I'll peel the back off and I'm gonna put it on this mirror. So let me show you how we're gonna set that mirror up, okay? The proper way to set the mirror is first have the driver sit in the seat, adjust the seat where they want it, and then they need to sit up. A lot of times when you do these adjustments, if they're slouching or looking forward, that's not good. What we want is them sitting in the seat. We want them adjusted properly, where all they have to do is just glance. All they're gonna do is glance at these mirrors. They should not be having to do this, right? So here's how we set the mirrors up. The top mirror, the flat mirror, should be set where 1 inch, a quarter of that mirror, maybe up to a third, but usually less. 1 inch is showing the side of the coach. The rest of that mirror should just be seeing back and sky. It should be off of the coach. So 1 inch of the mirror is coach. Most of the mirror is not coach. It's out in the open. That's how you adjust it side to side. Now, to adjust it up and down, we want about the bottom third to be ground and about 2/3 to be sky. You actually want to be able to see the sky looking in that mirror. That's because we're looking for traffic way down the road. That's where we're looking for traffic. So remember, flat mirror, 1 inch showing the coach, 1/3 of the mirror or so showing the ground. The rest is sky. That's how we adjust the flat mirror. Now adjusting the convex mirror, we kind of want to do the same rule where we have about an inch or two of the coach. For the most part, adjusting that convex mirror all the way out is where most people end up with it. And you still see plenty of coach. So the top mirror gets adjusted just like a normal mirror in your car. There's usually a motorized up, down, left, right. The convex mirror is a manual adjustment. I got to come up here and I need to just move with my thumbs up and down, side to side. And what you want to do is you want to be able to see the back bumper, see the back wheel. So for the most part, that convex mirror is usually adjusted all the way out and down a little bit. You don't want to see just the ground. You should not see this area. That's not what the convex mirror is for. You should be seeing a little bit further back, but you don't want that adjusted where you're looking behind you. The convex mirror is for the side and then to about the back bumper. Any further than that, you're looking too far for the convex mirror, okay? So we have our mirrors adjusted, we got the flat mirror adjusted, we have the convex mirror adjusted. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna mark the convex mirror, that's the lower one that's bent. We're gonna mark the convex mirror with a little square, with a dot, where the pivot point is. The way that we do that is we get an obstacle, I use a cone. We get an obstacle, we're gonna set it at the back wheel on the pivot point, just about a foot or two off the coach. So now what I do is I have the driver sitting in the driver's seat. I take a little square, I put that square on the end of my scissors, and I'll put the square up on the mirror and I'll have the driver tell me left, right, up, or down. And what we want to do is we want to put that little square underneath that cone. We want to make it look like the cone is sitting on top of that tape. That's when we know where the pivot point is. Now what that means is anything that is above that marker, you are clear. You can turn, you're not gonna hit it. The pivot point is past that marker, okay? If there's anything underneath that marker or being covered up with the marker, then that obstacle is not yet at the pivot point. And if you turn, you chance hitting it. So the way that you can determine if you've got that marker set up right, have the driver sit in the seat, you've marked the mirror. What I do is I walk back and I'll say, let me know when I'm standing on the tape. Let me know when you can see my feet standing on the tape. Right about this point, the driver should tell me, okay, you're right there. Now, if he tells me here, then we need to adjust the mirror. If he tells me here, then we need to adjust the mirror. Make sense? So, as you're driving, the way you use the marker is as you're driving, as soon as you see the obstacle, come up and clear that dot, you're good to go. You're not going to hit it, you can turn into it. That's how we mark the pivot point. Now, many coaches today come with some really sophisticated backup cameras or rear view cameras. For those of us that don't have really sophisticated cameras, one of the most important marks that I found, I need to know where 3 feet is. I need to know exactly where 3 feet is off the back of my bumper, okay? So the way you do that is you come back here and you set an obstacle, a curb, a pool noodle, a cone, set some sort of obstacle where you want, 3 feet off the back of the coach, okay? Now, you need to make sure that the camera is adjusted. That camera, when it is on, in most instances, you should be able to see this back bumper or dang close to it. That camera should almost be kind of sort of straight down, but not to the point that you have nothing back here. You don't want that camera raised up so far that it's looking off into space straight behind you. That's not the idea, or at least that's not how I use it. I want to see from here, because I like to make sure my tow vehicle is still attached. I want to see from here back. What this allows me to do is when I'm backing, I know exactly where my rear end is, right? So let's say I'm backing into a wall, I'm backing into a campground, I'm backing into something. I need to see when I'm about to hit something. So I like that camera coming down, almost looking at the bumper, and I still end up getting about, I can see the back of my Jeep. So I've got 3 feet here, 12 feet. I can still see almost 15 feet behind me, even with that camera angled down pretty steeply. So anyway, that's my preference on how to use that camera, but I don't have a really fancy camera that says 3 feet, 6 feet, 9 feet with a little red, I don't have any sort of fancy backing system. So what I do, I got a cone, it's 3 feet off of the back. I'm gonna go to the camera inside, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take another piece of this tape, another piece of this pinstriping, peel it off, and I'm gonna put it right on the screen, right on my radio screen. I mean, that's where I've got mine, right on the radio screen, and I put that cone right on top, okay? What that tells me is when I'm backing, I know exactly where 3 feet is. I can back into a wall, a campground, a parking lot, I can back next to a garbage can, anything, and I know exactly where that back bumper is, and I can stop within a foot because I know where 3 feet is. That mark, that tape tells me, okay, when the obstacle hits that tape, that obstacle is 3 feet away from me. That's how I use that marker. So for those of us that don't have super fancy backing systems, that's a great way to mark how far away I am from an obstacle as I'm backing. Okay, now this is how we do the windshield markers, okay? We pulled the coach up along a long white line. So we can either do a cone line, it's easier to find a curb, or a long white parking lot line. So basically, we bring the coach in, we line it up, and we've got a nice long white line here that the driver can see. I put the coach about that far off the line, just enough for the mirror to maybe be right on it, or maybe even a little bit inside it, okay? So I bring the coach in, I see him coming, here's my line, and I'm bringing the coach in until he's lined up right on that line, but the mirror is either right on it or just to the inside. Then once again, I have the driver sit in the driver's seat, relaxed, comfortable. I take some of this tape, it's a little bit longer, maybe, what is that, inch, maybe a little less. I take some of that tape, and what I do is I have the driver put this on the line. So I'll tell them, raise it, lower it, left, right, or he'll tell me. And so usually the left marker ends up right about here, Okay, so here's my line. It's on the left side of the coach. I'm lined up perfectly with it, and he's gonna put this marker right on the line, okay? This is the left boundary. The purpose of this marker is if he puts this marker on the line, then he knows he's not gonna hit the obstacle. So if he's driving down the road and he's trying to position the coach, he can put this on the line and he'll know that he is right off the line, perfectly, just that far off the line. It's most helpful for tight construction, bridges, really tight lanes. When you need to take as little space as possible, that marker, put it right on the line and hold it. And that'll keep you in position close to the barrier, but not hitting the barrier. Without a marker, you're sometimes kind of all over, not sure exactly how close you are or not. Now, in order to do the right marker, we turn the coach around, we come up, we put the long white line right here. So the driver can see the white line, right? And we're gonna do the same thing. And usually the right marker ends up somewhere right about here, in the middle of the coach, a little closer actually to the driver, up, down. It might be above the windshield wiper, might be below. Now, if, again, remember, we're about a foot off, just enough for the mirror, about a foot off that line. So the right marker, if he turns the coach and lines it up on the right marker, then the coach will run right alongside, nice and tightly on that right-hand side. If he uses the left marker, he'll be running along perfectly. Generally, once in a great while, the coach is marked perfectly, where when you're coming down the center of the lane, you have markers are right on the inside, perfectly running the whole way. That's usually not the case though. Usually one marker will bring you this way a little, this marker will bring you this way a little. Rarely are those markers perfectly aligned where you're gonna be centered by using both. You pick one, you either use the left one or you pick the right one, use the right one. That just helps you with lane positioning, okay? That's how you use the highway windshield marker. Now I'll show you an example of exactly when you would use that and what it would look like. This is an example of using that highway windshield marker that I was talking about. It's actually a great example. We're in a chute doing some construction here on some road construction. I've got a wall, I've got a hard barrier right up against me here. So I actually want to spin the camera and let you see that. So go ahead and take a look at this. Okay, so this is the chute that we're in, okay? It's a single lane construction chute. I've got a hard barrier on one side, I got a hard barrier on the other side. On the left side, I have less tolerance than on the right side. On the right side here, I've got a rumble strip, but I've probably got 2 or 3 feet. On the left side, I've got closer to maybe 1 foot, maybe a little bit more. So fortunately, we're going at a low speed right now, so I can demonstrate this. That windshield marker, I've got a left windshield marker and I've got a right windshield marker. And I taught you how to put the windshield marker on the line so that you know how far away you are. So this is a scenario, especially as we speed up here, this is a scenario where you know, I feel like I'm close to the wall. Oh my gosh, I don't want to hit it. I've got more tolerance on the right. So I am going to use my left windshield marker. I am going to put my windshield marker right on that yellow line. And as long as that windshield marker is on the yellow line, then I'm okay. I'm not going to hit the wall. And I know that I'm okay on the right. I'm not going to hit that guardrail. So this is an example of how to use that windshield marker, just shooting straight down the chute here. Put that marker right on that yellow line, and I'm going to be perfectly aligned. Everything's going to be fine. Now, I also could use the white line on the right. If I chose to, I could put the marker that's on the right side of the windshield right on that white line, and then as long as I stay on that right line, well, I'll be okay. I like putting the marker on the side that has less tolerance. So if I'm up against a brick wall and I've got nothing on the other side, well, I'm okay floating because whatever's on the other side, I've got more room that I'm gonna miss it. Maybe it's a row of traffic and they can get out of my way or give me space. Sometimes that happens when you're going across a bridge for construction. You're going across a bridge and it's super tight and you have to pick what obstacle you're going to ride right up against, as close as you can get, and the other side of the lane is just traffic. Well, that's okay. Traffic can move for you. Traffic can give you space. You know who can't move for you and who can't give you space? a concrete barrier. Concrete barrier is not going to give you a whole lot of wiggle room. So I just wanted to do a quick example of what that looks like to use that highway marker.